So first of all, thank you for joining. We've discussed in prior sessions the importance of setting up your business and making the right entity choice. We've also reviewed how to track your expenses and how to think about tax planning. And now that we've outlined all of these topics and you've determined your cash flow and how to determine your cash flow, we want to talk about how you're going to use that after-tax cash for investments. A lot of you have been wondering how to save for retirement. We've gotten a lot of questions on that in the prior sessions and through the questionnaire that we sent out for the last session. So we want to address it, although it is difficult to answer the question in general because it's such an individualized topic. We wanted to provide you with some tips and best practices that will hopefully help you in your plans to save for retirement. We've asked one of our wealth advisors, Letty, to join us. So I'm going to turn it over to Letty and she's going to give us her insights.
Thank you, Serena. Hi, everyone. I'm Letty. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a wealth advisor here at Navis, and I've been working in the financial services industry for about 8 years now. And naturally, because your investment planning is so interrelated with your taxes, I work very closely with Joe, Serena, and Brenna. So I understand that many of you have been looking for answers to the questions, how can I save for retirement? And how much should I be saving for retirement? So as Serena said, everyone's financial circumstances are different and personal. So I thought it would be a great idea to provide you all with a rule of thumb, and hopefully that will help to answer the few questions and get started saving for retirement. So a simple and quick rule of thumb that I wanted to share with you and that you can implement into your life now is called the 50-30-20 rule. So the 50-30-20 rule, as you can see here, it's useful once you've assessed your income, as discussed in previous sessions, and it can help you with simplifying allocating your cash flow. So as you can see here, the rule is that 50% of your income should be spent on food, clothing, shelter, utilities. 30% should be spent on your wants, so dining out instead of cooking in, entertainment, travel, memberships, things like that. And then 20% of your income should be allocated towards your investments or retirement. So your needs, of course, well, the last 20% of your income should be allocating to your savings, as I mentioned. So this is where retirement savings comes to play. And the savings portion of your income can be allocated within a mix of different savings vehicles. So that could be a regular savings or checking account, or it could be spent towards a retirement plan or a separate investing account for savings. And before I go into detail about the savings strategy, I do want to show you a quick example of two individuals' incomes. I know that some of you might be very early on in your real estate career and some of you may be very well established. So here's a basic comparison of applying this rule of thumb to someone who makes $100,000 a year versus $2 million a year. So if you're making $100,000 a year after taxes, as you can see, you can potentially be saving $20,000 a year if you're using that 20% rule of thumb. Versus a person who's making $2 million a year after tax, you could potentially be saving $400,000 a year. Again, everyone's situation is different. And again, this is a rule of thumb. It's just a guideline, so it's not meant to be exact, but it's a quick and easy step that you can implement and follow that might be useful to help you start saving if you haven't already. So now that you understand how much you can potentially be saving, I do want to explain again that the savings portion of your income can be applied in various ways. So you could be, saving within a checking or, various bank accounts, or you could be saving by investing within a retirement plan or separate investment account. One benefit of saving within a checking or savings account is that you have the option to invest in a high yield checking or savings account. So that's an interest-bearing vehicle. And the second benefit is that you have cash availability. So a regular savings account, you might see you can earn maybe less than 1%, but a high yield checking account, you can potentially be earning close to 5% now. That's what many banks are offering. So this might be a great option for someone who needs to have a lot of cash on hand. Maybe they have a large purchase coming up or want to purchase a home. So it's a great way to park your money, keep your savings so that it's readily available for whenever you need to withdraw it. That's the liquidity portion. So it's readily available at any time. So with the example I have here, for a person who makes $100,000 a year versus 2 million, these individuals are obviously at very different stages of their life. So it very well may be that the low income earner might be, getting married soon or saving to buy a home. That individual might very well be in the position to save a lot of money because they have a very large purchase coming up soon, and they're likely to be the individual who is using a high yield checking account. And they need that money in the short term versus someone who makes, a lot more money each year. They're probably well established, they're past that point. Maybe they want travel and, miscellaneous expenses, but they don't need to have a very large sum of cash at all times. So their savings portion might be allocated more towards investment or within a retirement plan. And I'm sure many of you know, in speaking with Joe or Brenna, that one benefit of having a retirement plan is being able to deduct contributions on your tax return. So I'm gonna let Joe jump in here for a few minutes just to explain that in a little bit more detail.
All right, thanks, Letty.
Mhm.
Yeah, another good benefit of those high yield savings with the liquidity is that you can use part of that high yield savings to save for your planning towards the end of the year for the taxes that you are anticipating to pay and other plans like retirement account that you mentioned.
Mhm.
So with the retirement contributions, that's going to be a deduction for you, a deduction on your taxable income. So it would then, by virtue of that, reduce the taxes that you're paying. So if you have, based off of your tax rates, if you have a 30% tax rate, and the total taxes that you owe is $100 without any contributions to a contribution, retirement contribution. That $100 is what you definitely have to pay out. If you make a contribution into a retirement plan, then that is a deduction and reduces your taxable income. Now, let's say you're in the 30% tax bracket, and if you contribute $83 into a retirement plan, you get an $83 deduction to reduce your taxable income. That would, at a 30% tax rate, provide you with $25 in tax savings. So instead of $100 of taxes that you pay, you would have to pay $75. So that's a $25 tax savings. That $100 is going out of the door no matter what. You're going to pay the government, or if you pay an additional $58, or excuse me, an additional $83 into your retirement plan, $25 is saved on your taxes. So that $25, excuse me, can be reduced. It would reduce that $83 retirement plan. So the net payment you'd have to make is $58 to the retirement plan, and you get $83 as a benefit, and you pay $75 for taxes. So in essence, the government has subsidized your retirement plan by the tax savings. And another thing that I want to bring up is the timing when do you have to make these contributions to the retirement plans? Because the different types of entities have different rules and different retirement plans that are available. So your traditional IRA that you get to take as a deduction on your tax return, that has to be paid in 4/15 by the due date of your tax return. Now, if you have a different type of entity filing, say a March 15 tax date for an S corporation, and you have a SEP or a 401k with a profit sharing plan or a defined benefit plan, then the due date of those contributions are the due date of the tax return, including extensions. So that means it goes all the way to September 15th for that entity for those contributions, but you get the deduction on that tax return. So you're actually saving in taxes in the current year. So that's a really good plan for cash flow, because you can actually set up this nice little cash flow dance with the tax savings and the contribution into your retirement plans. What you can do is file an extension on the tax return. And if you're in a situation where this contribution creates a refund for you, but you don't have the cash available, then you can file the extension in a few days after the initial due date. You file that return and get the refund. Let's say you file that return at the end of April, you get the refund by the end of May. The contribution to the retirement plan is due in September. So when you get that refund, you can use the funds from the federal government to make the contribution and help contribute to the retirement plan before September. So you're actually utilizing those tax savings and refunds that are available. You're setting in the reports that this contribution has been made or will be made, and you're getting a deduction, you're getting the tax savings before you've actually made the contribution. And then you're using the funds, the refunds, to help fund that contribution. And that's a nice little cash flow plus, a little tool, a little benefit, opportunity that you can take advantage of.
Right.
You don't have to file the tax return first. You don't have to make the contribution to the retirement account first to put it on the tax return and get that benefit. So those are some key points there to understand. Retirement contributions provide tax benefits and tax savings, so you can do an analysis and determine what that benefit would be. And then there is also the added benefit of cash flow timing that you can play with your tax filings and the contribution dates, and you can use extensions to help with that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think those are great points. And the savings portion that you are allocating to the retirement plan, again, that's the 20% of your income that counts towards your savings and saving for retirement. So I briefly touched on savings in a savings account, and Joe discussed the benefits of saving in a retirement plan. So now I kind of want to explore some investment strategies. So when you're working with a financial advisor, you want to make sure that they are looking at your investment portfolio as a whole. So if you're working with a certified financial planner, for example, they're more than likely going to take you through the 7 steps of financial planning before they recommend any particular investment strategy. So as you can see here, Steps 1 through 4 of the financial planning process is very specific to you as an individual. So first, what an advisor will typically do is understand your personal and financial circumstances. They identify your goals with you. They analyze your current course of action versus potential better alternatives. And then they're going to develop a plan for you in steps 1 through 4. And sometimes this takes weeks, sometimes even months, depending on how complex your situation is. But after working through the first 4 steps, that's when an advisor is going to say, okay, now I understand your financial circumstance, and now I'm ready to make an investment recommendation to you. So these are the steps of financial planning, but it ties right in with your investments. And it does take, some time. It does take weeks, sometimes even months, just because we do have to do our due diligence. Just as real estate agents, you need to really know your client. We need to know our client and understand that we're making the best recommendation for you. Just so that we don't overlap any of your existing investments or create extra unnecessary risk in your portfolio. So one thing that an advisor will do is make sure that you're not over concentrated in any particular sector or industry of the market. So we do often find, for example, that for the people that work in real estate, they are many times overweighted in the real estate investments. And while real estate is a great investment opportunity for you guys, because like Joe mentioned, you're able to take deductions as real estate agents that aren't available to others. There's so many more benefits to diversifying your investment portfolio, just to, again, make sure that you're not over concentrated in any one particular investment. So I'll give you an example. You might have a significant business risk exposure to the fortune of one single company. For those of you who are invested in your company stock, for example, and that's not just in real estate, we find that in the tech space, healthcare industry. So what people tend to do is they purchase their company stock while they're working for a specific company. They put it to the side, they want to let it grow, and they kind of forget about it. But then a real estate agent will maybe purchase a separate investment property for rental income. And that adds even more sector or specific business risk to your portfolio. And speaking of risk, there are generally 2 types of overarching risks that you should be aware of within your investments. It's either going to be within the category of systematic risk or unsystematic risk. And this can be a whole separate discussion, but systematic risk, just to give you a summary, includes purchasing power risk, reinvestment rate risk, interest rate, market, and exchange rate risk, while unsystematic risk includes business risk, financial risk, default, political, or liquidity risk. And there are so many risks that you can be exposed to within any investment, and each investment can also have multiple types of risk. So the more you diversify your portfolio, the more you can diversify the types of risk you have and then mitigate or lessen how much that risk affects you. That's ultimately the goal while you're investing. So it's important to know that everyone does have different risk tolerances too. So some of you might be more conservative investors and some of you might be more aggressive. But even for the conservative investors, you can expose to, for example, if you only invest in short-term CDs, there's still, interest rate risk there or purchasing power risk. So it's important to be aware of those types of risk, no matter what you're invested in or what your risk tolerance is. And just to hone in on it, you might not even realize it, but for those of you who are, real estate agents, you have, company stock, you own real estate investment property, you work in real estate, you're not realizing it, but by doing all of that, that's putting all of your eggs in one basket. And that's really like the riskiest thing that you could possibly do in terms of your investments. So again, it's just important to understand that you should take into your consideration the entire portfolio that you own, every type of investment, so that you can ask your financial advisor, hey, this is what my situation looks like. How can you help me to diversify and minimize the risk that I'm taking on? So I think, again, like, that's just very important when you're looking at your investments, and as a real estate agent, those are questions you should be asking, your advisor.
Yeah, so I love real estate myself. And, it's great because you can, for rental properties, tax purposes, you get a loss on paper, you have a loss. And hopefully, if you're in a good investment, you have positive cash flow. And that's a great place to be in, where you're receiving cash, but on paper, you have a loss that reduces your taxable income. And as real estate agents, real estate professionals, you would be able to take those losses that other investors would not be able to take. They'd be suspended, so the tax losses wouldn't help them on their tax return like it would for you guys as tax professionals. But it's definitely very important for the diversity aspect to really be reviewed and analyzed, and make sure that you are diversifying yourself, because Letty mentioned, we do see it in the tech sector,
Right.
especially. And, because I have one client who is in the tech sector, and he knows all about, high-tech companies and those investments. And, I want to say around December of 2021, he was worth around 32 million. And in June of 2022, he was worth around 12 million.
Right, you'll never know what's gonna happen with the market, so you have to be prepared for uncertainty.
Right, and that's all because, it's 75% of his holdings were, number one, actually it went up to 90%, but 75% was in the one company that he was working in, and then the other 15% were the investments that he made in the tech sector because he understood that sector.
Right.
So we've worked hard to get with him and preach to him about the benefits of diversity and some different planning to help mitigate that. And we have helped that position a lot. It takes a little bit of time to go through that process, but it is extremely important. I'm glad you touched on that a lot.
Yeah, no, I think it's very important, and I think everyone should, ask that question to your advisor if you haven't already, for sure.
Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay, well, I think the takeaway is diversify your investments.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
the big takeaway here. So thank you so much for joining and listening. And if you guys think of anything, feel free to shoot us an email. We're happy to answer. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye now.